This is week 7, Honors Business class, case 3 on high functioning alcoholics, otherwise known as HFAs. Why are they HFAs? It's because they can still maintain respect, high profile, a home, a family, and a job. Because of balancing home, high profiles, school and work schedules, family, loved ones, and friends, having kids, social obligations, and anything else. They basically have a normal life. The only difference is that they also have the alcoholism to deal with and factor in. The reason they're so hard to detect is because they maintain everything and work it around the fact that they're an alcoholic. So why is this a problem? Problems with HFAs include the fact that they are in denial, their family and friends ignore it or accept it as not being a problem, and no one confronts them on the issue. What happens is time passes and they get help or they are in a crisis related to alcohol, which are things like divorces, rapes, unwanted sexual problems, drunk driving problems, and abuse problems, all associated with high levels of alcohol. The other way to go with this is seeking help. When they seek help, they can go into recovery and continue to have a normal life. Celebrities who have done this are Betty Ford, Buzz Aldrin, Elizabeth Taylor, Mary Taylor Moore, and President George W. Bush. Other famous names are Robin Williams, Keith Urban, Eric Clapton, and Joe Namath. All these people have had alcohol problems but have gotten help. Who are HFAs? HFAs are as many as half of the entire alcoholic population. So the majority of alcoholics would be possible HFAs. Power can actually help with alcoholism because people in power receive higher pay so they can afford to drink heavily because alcohol is expensive and they have the paycheck to cover it. They oftentimes use it as a reward for hard work, and social habits and norms act as inhibitors for this, such as dinner and a drink for a work meeting. It becomes normal. HFAs often don't meet the DSM-5's criteria for an alcoholic. The DSM-5 is a handbook for psychological analysis of disorders. And in order to say that you are an alcoholic, according to the DSM-5, you have to have it interfere and inhibit with your normal daily activities. So even if you drink 20 drinks a day, you're still not an alcoholic unless it interferes with your everyday life and basic function. So HFAs are not technically alcoholics because they can still function with alcohol. HFAs don't fit alcoholic stereotypes because they can still be fashionable, hot, elegant, dressed put together, and they can drink alone instead of in groups. So these are not people that fit your stereotypical drunk. What happens is they become dependent on the alcohol, they have withdrawal symptoms, mental urges, they start obsessively thinking about their next drink, and they'll have blackouts and memory lapses where they don't remember what happened. Here are key clues on how to find an HFA. What's important to remember here is that the story or what happened when they were drinking is more important than how much they drank. So story versus quantity. Here are some signals that you might have an HFA or high-functioning alcoholic problem. They have intake control problems even if they determine they're only going to drink so much. They start obsessively thinking about the next drink or contemplating drinking constantly. They have uncharacteristic behavior while they're drinking, so a quiet person might become a very loud person, etc. All of these things are clues. Other clues might include the fact that they have memory loss or blackouts, so if you take an HFA drinking, they might not remember what happened the night before. All of these are little signals that you might have a high-functioning alcoholic. So, high-functioning alcoholics, they don't have to be your stereotypical drunks. They're not the guy that shows up to the bar every night and has 20 drinks. If that guy can still function as a normal human being and have a successful career, hold down a job, and all of those things, then he might not be what would be a typical alcoholic or qualify for the DSM-5 criteria. He might be a high-functioning alcoholic, but not necessarily do HFAs have to fit stereotypes or fit a definition of alcoholism. HFAs can be those rich, famous people who have all the clothes, the money, the brands, the car. They can have the big mansion, the pocketbook with the expensive house, the high bank account, huge checking account. They can be anyone. So here's some review for questions. Question 1. An HFA is a high-functioning alcoholic. Basic definition. Question 2. An alcoholic does not have to fit with the DSM-5 criteria and can still have a normal life with respect, friends, family, job, high profile, home, job success for high class financial success, and fashionable. They can be your surgeons, your doctors, your lawyers, your CEO, your successful businessmen, your actors, your teachers. Anyone can fit an HFA, but might not necessarily meet the psychological definition of alcoholism. Here are some difficulties when detecting HFAs. HFAs are not always detected because they can be in denial about their problems. Their family and friends might accept it or ignore the fact that they have a problem. No one can confront the patient. Money will cover the cost. Its social norm also covers the fact that they're an alcoholic because it's a social norm to drink oftentimes, especially in high-profile businesses. Don't fit stereotypes. They can maintain a life, and they don't have to fit with the definition of an alcoholic. Good things to remember. Question 4. If diagnosed with alcoholism, and if that would qualify under disability, then the ADA would protect the person or employee from getting fired, etc. because of their alcoholism. So if for some reason alcoholism was defined in the definition by psychological or contract, if it qualifies under disability, then they would have ADA protection from getting fired because of alcoholism. Safe harbor protection or safe harbor provision prevents the employer from legally looking into whether or not a patient or employee has a disability unless the test, etc. process is job related. So therefore, unless it pertains to the job, they cannot be tested or looked into possible signs of alcoholism. Therefore, because of this, the employer can't look into possible alcoholism if it falls under the category of being a disability. If an employee is an HFA, I think the best way to deal with that would be to make sure they know what an HFA is and where they can seek help. Awareness is a huge factor. And also, if mistakes are made because of the alcoholism or because they are an HFA, make sure as an employer you um, enforce the consequences of the mistake, not because of the alcoholism. Don't make it alcohol related. So, awareness and enforcement. You can do things like enforcing late policies. Make sure the handbook specifies what happens if mistakes are made or if performance error occurs. Hand out flyers so that people are aware. Just make sure it's not pertaining to the alcohol that you're punishing the employee. Instead, just enforce consequences for mistakes.